Thanks so much for being with us on another edition of Austin Fit Talks. Our guest this week, the president and CEO of the YMCA of Austin, James Finck. James, thanks for making time for us.
Oh, my pleasure.
It's interesting. We started doing these Fit Talks kind of unintentionally, but right in the middle of the pandemic. And to me, the timing is interesting because I feel like we're in a moment where fitness and the ability to exercise and be healthy is more important than ever. Yet it's also in some ways more challenging than ever with closures to gyms or limited access to gyms and even just being outside. How have you, with the YMCA, how have you guys kind of navigated this, and how have you seen things play out over the last couple of months?
Well, the navigation has been tricky, not just for the Y, but for everybody. We find ourselves in these unprecedented times. We got the notice in mid-March that all Ys would be shut down. And so that was a difficult pill to swallow, but we went right into action, and we figured out how we could serve the community that we are in different ways. So we launched right away to be food distribution sites. We launched 4 sites for essential workers for childcare. And then we immediately launched a virtual YMCA offering so people could exercise in their home, take classes still online. That has been very busy. I think we've had about 150 people sign in for classes since that time. There's a lot of people that don't feel comfortable coming back. But then we really reached out to our senior membership, those that tend to live more isolated lives anyway. And we have made probably 6,000 phone calls to seniors just to check in on them. So, and then when we did reopen, about a month ago or so, I think it was June 10th that we reopened, we took every safety precaution known to mankind. We followed all the CDC guidelines. We followed the governor's orders. So everybody's temperature checked when they come in. Everybody has to have a mask on when they come in. We launched a reservation system, so we knew we could stay within that 25% which the governor had ordered. And so we haven't had any problems since we've opened.
Obviously, I think we've all got to the point where we understand that there is some inherent risk if we go out. I mean, if we do anything. But is your message to people that this is as safe as it can possibly be, and we're doing every single thing that we can to make it safe for you?
Yeah, we've made that our number one priority. The safety was going to be number one, and nobody was going to get lax on it. We communicated that to the staff, and we have continued to communicate that because you want to get back to what it is normal. And these are members coming in, but these are also our friends and people that we know. And so it's easy to let your guard down. So we constantly remind people of that.
What has been the reaction you've seen from people as they've started to come back and been able to get, at least to some degree, back into their routines?
Oh, one of pure joy. Absolutely. The busiest our pools have ever been. They are packed out all the time with the reservations. So people not being able to get in the water was something that it was like, glory, glory, hallelujah.
It's interesting listening to you when you're talking about everything you guys were doing when this first happened and you had to shut down, because I think for me, thinking about the 20,000 foot view of the YMCA, I think fitness and exercising, but you're talking about childcare and reaching out to senior members just to check on them. I mean, how much broader is the mission of what y'all do than simply providing a place for people to exercise?
Well, you got about 5 hours.
I know it's tough to ask you to.
It really is a very broad in what we do. We will have cancer survivorship programs. We have a very robust, programs for people with disabilities of all kinds, whether it's wheelchair basketball or in our Camp in Motion program for kids with cerebral palsy. And the list just keeps on going. And then we partner and collaborate with a lot of other nonprofits. And when you think about the Y's mission to help people develop to their full potential in spirit, mind, and body, our mission fits into everybody. And so where we have resources that can benefit another nonprofit, such as coming in our North Austin branch, where they'll do free HIV testing and screening, job placements and trainings, early childhood education. We're the largest after-school provider of after-school childcare in the county. And the list just keeps on going and going. So if there's a need where we can see where we can help people and we can do it, that's what we do. Free counseling at our Town Lake program. So, I could go on and on and on. But really, these great ideas come from a lot of times from our members themselves. That says that, hey, I've got my dad has dementia. What can you do for him? So then a senior retreat program got started. So, and that's still going today. That got started 10 years ago. But that was just from one member having a need for it, and it grew.
As you're listing all these things, I can't help but think that, of course, you didn't plan for a pandemic and you didn't want a pandemic, but so many of these offerings you're describing feel like things that people desperately need right now. In some sense, do you feel like you were, I don't want to say prepared, but in a way have services that are things people really actually need right now?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Now more than ever, as you said. I mean, with all the layoffs that have occurred, one of the things that differentiates us from other gyms, if you will, is that everybody's welcome in the YMCA, no matter what. If you can't afford the fee, we're going to find one that you can. And so we scholarship or give financial assistance to 35,000 people a year in a tune of $2.5 million. So it's high on our list that we will welcome everybody no matter what.
That's great. I know one of the things you guys did this year was merging with Extendicare Kids. Can you talk a little bit about what that merger has allowed you to do?
Well,
or prior to the pandemic, I guess maybe I should say.
It's kind of it's one of those things where you get the best out of a relationship when you put both people's talents first, right? And then you learn from one another. That's what this relationship was about, to serve more kids in a more meaningful way. And so what they did really good, we kept. What we did really good, we kept, and we merged the two together, and it's been a marvelous journey.
The spectrum of everybody you touch at the YMCA is something that stands out to me. I can remember going to the YMCA as a kid, and then my mom moved to Austin not long ago, and I remember giving her, look at all these programs they have for seniors at the YMCA, which would be, so great for you. I mean, to be able to serve people from young to old, how important is that, and how special is that?
Well, when everybody's welcome in YMCAs and it goes the full spectrum, then we program for the full spectrum. So that can be challenging sometimes. For instance, you might be a member of our Town Lake and you want to go shoot hoops. We might have a program for people with disabilities at that time, and you're not going to get it all the time. But it creates that real sense of community. I like to think of YMCA branches as hub of communities, that everybody's welcome. We're going to look at the community needs and try to meet people where they are. So if you think about a family coming into the YMCA, you might not all spend that time together, but your kids are going to be having programs in our Child Watch program while you might go swim and your wife might do something else. And then you can all come together at the end. So there's something for everybody.
You mentioned shooting hoops. I've heard about the legendary noontime pickup games at the Town Lake YMCA. Yeah, I've heard stories through the years from people that play down there.
Yeah. It's you get a lot of players that think they're NBA caliber, but
yeah, maybe a little past their prime, right?
Yeah.
What is something that you wish people knew about the Y, or a message that you wish you could get out there that people may not know?
I think that just the breadth and depth and scope of all that we do. I was joking with our marketing director the other day, Sean Doles, and he goes, wouldn't it be great to have an elevator speech that so people can really understand the YMCA? And I said, it'll turn out like an encyclopedia, not an elevator speech. And so if you ask like a lot of nonprofits, they'll say, what do you do? And it might be the American Cancer Society. Our goal is to eradicate cancer.
Mm-hmm.
Or it might be, something else and says, we want to prevent kids from drowning. We're all of those things. You can go out there and say, we want seniors to live less lonely and isolated lives. We want kids to have the best start humanly possible, where they can grow and thrive and become contributing adults. We want to make sure that that nobody gets turned away for any reason. And then we try to level that playing field. So I could go on and on and on, but what I really appreciate about the YMCA is we level that field. I remember going into the gym one day, the basketball court, and seeing a guy who's a multimillionaire with a guy who's homeless. And they're shooting hoops together, having this marvelous conversation. Neither one knew what the other one did. So, that's what I would like people to take away. We don't get everything perfect. We don't do everything right, but we try to welcome people and meet them where they are so they can have the best life possible.
A moment like that's got to be powerful, right? To see something like that.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. But the thing is, I gave a talk not too long ago, and I told probably a half a dozen of these amazing stories that really transformed people's lives. Like I was in the town Lake Y giving an elected official a tour, and this guy hollers out, he goes, "Hey, are you Mr. Finck?" And I turned around, I said, "Yes." He goes, "Listen, I don't mean to interrupt you, but I did 3 tours in Afghanistan." And he goes, and I seriously considered ending my life. And then I walked into this YMCA, and tears were streaming down his face. Tears were streaming down mine. He goes, "This Y saved my life."
Wow.
And so we can go, I can go on and on about these amazing stories that I've seen. And I said in my speech that the Y doesn't make miracles happen, but the Y does make miracles possible.
That's good. I was going to ask you why you do what you do, but now hearing some of these stories and some of these moments you're describing, I'm sure that is a big piece of the reason why you have chosen to do what you do.
It's absolutely, I if I was to answer that question, why I do what I do, I'd be hard pressed to find the words. But when you see the work that we do and how it transforms people's lives, it gets in your blood.
For you, this has been a career, right? I mean, this is basically what you've done your entire career.
Yep, right out of college, and so I joke, this is, that I can't do anything else. This is all I know how to do.
What got you started when coming out of college? What made you want to join and work at the Y?
Well, that's actually right out of college. My goal, what I thought I was going to do was going to be join a park and rec district in the state of California, and eventually move up to be a superintendent of a big park and rec district somewhere. Well, there was no jobs to be had, so I did the next best thing. I went on a bicycle trip from San Diego to Boston.
Wow.
And then when I got back, I had about $5 left, and I needed to get a job. And of course, in those days, there was nothing online. Every job was just posted on a board. And so I found this vacancy listing for the YMCA's, and I started applying to Ys. And lo and behold, I ended up working as a health and wellness director at the Bakersfield Y, first job out of college. And from there, I went to Sacramento, spent some time, and my first CEO job was in actually Maui, Hawaii.
That's tough.
And yeah, that was good.
How quickly did it transition from I need a job out of college to I like this, this could be my life's work?
Not long, not long. One of the great things that I really appreciate about the YMCA is, and I feel so blessed to have this career in the Y, is that like a lot of different businesses, people can put the brakes on you sometimes. You can be in a big business and there's the bureaucracy that comes with it. There's people fighting for those jobs. In the Y, you get a good idea, you prove it, you get to go do it.
Mm.
And I love that. So nothing holds us back. If a staff member, and I tell the staff this all the time, we are an organization where a good idea can come from any place in that organization. And if somebody has a good idea, we're going to let them run. And we're going to give them all the credit. And I think when you do that, you have that type of culture, people thrive in it.
Oh, it's got to be so empowering, right? And it's got to make it fun to come to work every day too.
Yes, I think so.
The affordability component of the YMCA, I can think of so many friends that have, been looking to join a gym and they look at whatever private fitness place it may be and it's several $100s a month or whatever, and then they ultimately join the Y because it's more affordable and then they love it. How important is making, what's the right way to say this, making fitness accessible and affordable to people?
Oh, it's not so important that we teach people how to exercise. It's important that we invite them in and remove the obstacles to join a community of exercisers.
Sure.
So when we bring down those barriers, and affordability can be one, and we make it simple, I remember when I came to Austin in 2008, a robust time of the economy, right?
Yeah, right.
Of course, but
Yeah.
one of the things I said was we were going to make it very simple. If somebody comes in and joins, they weren't going to fill out, 3 different forms and wait for a committee to review it, and then we'll get back to them in 3 weeks. We were going to prove it on the spot. And so when we did that, our financial assistance went through the roof. But I said that, and the board started, are you sure you know what you're doing? And I said, and I told them this, and I said, I can't scientifically prove it, but I know it's true in my heart. The more good you do in the world, the more good comes back. And I know that's not probably a proven business practice, but I think it's true. And it was for us. We came out of that Great Recession roaring like a lion. I mean, our membership went through the roof because I think people saw it.
This might be tough to predict right now, but obviously we're facing in some ways similar circumstances. How do you navigate this, and how do you come out the other side of COVID?
Well, it's what I've told the board, and I tell the staff, and I tell them this repeatedly. I said, we will be judged when we were shut down, what we did to help people during that time. So we were going to look at every different way we could help people, and we did. And then when we reopen, people are going to need us, and we're going to give until it hurts. And we'll see if it works a second time, but I'm pretty darn sure it will.
That's great. Even in these times, as our city continues to grow, how much pressure do you feel on the YMCA to grow with Austin? I know there's been renovations to some of the facilities, but just to continue to keep up with the way our city is changing.
Well, I don't know if I feel pressure. I feel there's great opportunity. But again, when I came in 2008, one of the things that we started doing right away was forming partnerships and doing collaborative programming and projects. And through that, we built the North Austin YMCA with the city of Austin.
Mm.
Very, very successful. Serves that, a Y that really desperately needs a Y in their community for lots of different reasons. But post-COVID, I think that work is going to be paramount because there's going to be so many needs and we can't address them alone. What Austin Fit does really well, like this interview, to get people maybe inspired to exercise, we need to work with you guys. We need to work with cities. We need to work with other nonprofits. And then we have to leave our egos outside the room when we start looking at how we can serve the communities in the way they need us the most. And I think that's going to be extremely important. People are they're going to be hurting. It's just one of those things that together, I think that we're better.
One of the things we always like to ask our guests about when we have them on the show is about your own personal fitness journey. I know you're obviously a busy man, but what does fitness look like for you?
It's sanity, especially during these times. I mean, one thing
Absolutely.
I would tell people all the time is that, you have to start with yourself. And I preach that all the time, and I practice what I preach. So, but for a 62-year-old guy with bad knees, running's out of the equation. But what I do the most for my fitness is swim.
Mm.
And so I love swimming. I think water has magical powers for me, and so I swim in all our pools or any body of water I can find as often as I can.
What's a go-to workout for you if you're in a normal day? Hop up and go for a swim, or how do you do it?
Yeah, I will hit it usually in the morning or after work, one of the two. I usually get in the water about 5 times a week. But one of the things that I really enjoyed during this is learning the joy of walking.
Mm.
I did triathlons for a long time in my life, and so walking was not exercise to me. And during this pandemic, and so walking was just about, either climbing up a mountain or going on a hike for a purpose, or just getting from A to B. It's not something I thought about going out and really enjoying. Now, it's almost like this meditative thing I've experienced. I got a Fitbit. My wife got it.
Wow. There you go.
It became addicting. It's like,
Sure.
that 10,000 was pretty easy. Let's do 20.
Do you have a record? What's the most you've gotten in?
30.
30. Wow. That's
Yeah.
pretty good.
Yeah.
No, I mean, to your point, I've said this a few times on this show, but I personally have walked more than I've ever walked, and I've seen so many people out walking in our neighborhood, and I think it's exactly what you're saying, just meditative, to get outside, and I hope there's a long-term, benefit from that. People stick with it, or maybe this, I don't know. I see families out walking together. It's great to see.
Yeah, nobody has to go to a gym to exercise. What's great about going to a YMCA is you join a community, and there's more opportunities than just exercise. But I tell people that have a plan. My best piece of advice I ever got when I first started my Y career was from a boss that told me, he says, plan your work, then work your plan, and you'll be successful. I think the same thing goes for ourselves, individuals. If we take care of ourselves, if we have a plan, and it can't be like, I'm going to do a marathon in a month if you haven't, and you led a sedentary life. It's got to be realistic. And then find those things that bring you joy when you do them, and then give yourself a long enough period of time where it becomes a habit. And I guarantee you won't want to give it up. And then what you don't want to do is to get back into shape or exercise is to have starts and stops. It's like brushing your teeth. You don't get to brush your teeth once and be done. You got to do it every day, right?
Absolutely.
And the more you take care of yourself, this is the beauty of exercise, in my opinion. All those things that you really love, you'll be able to extend those in later and later years. Whatever those things are. If you have your health, everything's possible. If you give up that, if it's too much, if it takes too much time, you think, or any other excuse that you want, your life is not as good. That's pure and simple.
That's so well said. This has been great, James. I really appreciate the time. As we wrap up, is the message to people that we're still here for you right now, and we have a ton of services, and how do people find out more?
Yeah, we're open. You can come to our branches. You can call us. We've got people answering phones again. Or you can go on our webpage. There's a lot of information there about all of our offerings. It's not as robust as pre-COVID, but we're adding more and more all the time.
Great. Well, thank you for making time for us, James.
Yeah, thank you. And you be well.
Thank you. Same to you. And thank you for joining us here on Austin Fit Talks. We will be back next week with another episode.